Today we'll be looking at the Nepo instrument. Now before we can represent any numbers or perform any mathematical operations on the Nepo we need to look at how the instrument is laid out. If you notice, here on the top we have 3 rows of counters, and on the bottom we have 4 rows of counters, and they're divided by what we call a separation bar. This separation bar is really important because it's what gives the instrument value. Whenever the counters are moved and they're touching the separation bar, like so, it gives the instrument value. So that means if nothing is touching the bar, it has a value of 0. So let's go ahead and take a look at what each of these counters, what they mean. We're going to look first below the separation bar. This first column represents my ones. That means that every one of these counters represents a unit of 1. The second column represents my tens, which means that each one of these counters has a value of 10. The next column is the hundreds column, which means all of these counters in this column have a value of 100, and so on. 1,000, 10,000s, 100,000s, 1 million, 10 millions, 100 millions, 1 billion, 10 billions, 100 billions, and 1 trillion. Now you may notice on some images or some literature that pertain to the Nepo that these 2 sections right here are referred to a little bit differently. You might see that this column, instead of being referred to as the billion, is actually referred to as 1,000 million, and that this one is 10,000 million, 100,000 million, and 1 billion. Now the reason that is because the Nepo was created in Mexico, and in Spanish, trillions are actually billions, and the billions are referred to, like I just mentioned, 1,000 million, 10,000 million, and 100,000 million. So I just wanted to explain that because you may see some images and some literature that refers to it a little bit differently than what we're used to seeing in English, and I just wanted to eliminate any confusion that you might have. So that was pretty easy. Below the separation bar, the counters, we just need to know our place value. Now when we look above the separation bar, it's a little bit different. The value of the counters above the separation bar is place value times 5. What that means is this counter in this first column, which remember was my ones column, I need to multiply by 5 to give me a value of 5. 1 times 5 is 5. That means that each one of these counters in this column above the separation bar has a value of 5. This column is for my 50s, because remember below the separation bar these are my tens, so 10 times 5 is 50. This column is for my 500s, 5,000s, 50,000s, 500,000s, 5 millions, 50 millions, 500 millions, 5 billions, 50 billions, 500 billions, and 5 trillions. So most important thing that you need to remember on this top portion is that it's our normal place value times 5. So now that we know how place value is represented on the instrument, let's go ahead and show you how to count.